Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Tavali, and on today's show we will review all the action from matchday 2 of Serie A. AC Milan and Napoli both put in fantastic attacking performances. Milan thrashing Torino 4-1, Napoli beating Sassuolo 2-0. Juventus are back to their old ways under Max Allegri after a fantastic performance on matchday 1. They drew 1-1 with Bologna in a very, very disappointing performance. There is a crisis in Rome. Lazio lose again, 2 defeats in 2 to start the season, while Roma also fell to a shock defeat. But Roma are about to sign Romelu Lukaku on loan from Chelsea. So we'll discuss that and a few of the big deals that are happening in these last days of the transfer window. We'll review all of the other action from the weekend in Serie A. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend's Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including our weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday, where we answer all the questions from our patrons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFB and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month plus VAT. And now you can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify, and we will provide the link. Same price, same terms. And for all of you that do listen on Spotify, on Apple, on iTunes podcast, we'd really appreciate if you give us a 5-star rating, give us a follow and a like. We are on YouTube also. It really helps us to grow and do more quality content for you guys. So let's get into today's show. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Making your own podcast is fun, but the production of podcasts can also be challenging if you don't have the right software. With Zencastr, the whole process is quick and straightforward. Here at the Italian Football Podcast, we aim to have the highest of standards, and Zencastr provides crystal clear sound and fantastic HD video quality. Furthermore, it's really easy to use. Even boomers like Carlo can manage. There's nothing to download, just one click, and we start recording each episode. Zencastr ensures that your podcasting experience is easy and enjoyable. You don't even have to leave your browser, as it possesses all the tools required to get the episode done, from local recording to automatic post-productions. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code ItalianFootball, one word. You'll get 30% off your first 3 months of Zencastr Professional. We want you to have the same easy experiences that we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story.
Okay, so let's start off with Juventus because they played on Sunday evening and they draw 1-1 from Bologna, and it's been very frustrating reflecting on this game for Juventus fans because there was a degree of hope, cautious hope, I would say, from match day 1 when Juventus beat Udinese 3-0, and they played a fantastic first half in that game. And it was a new Juventus. It was a Juventus that were doing things that we just hadn't seen under Max Allegri in his first 2 seasons back. It was a more intense Juve. It was a Juventus with high pressing, that were trying to attack, that had some kind of modern ideas, with Cambiasso playing as an inverted wing back, and we were seeing Miretti, the mid-centre midfielder, pushing up into a centre-forward position, and we were seeing both wing-backs push really high up, and we were seeing a few patterns of attacking play as well. And there was this hope that this was this was the new Juventus, that Magnanelli, who had come in from Sassuolo, had brought these kind of new kind of ideas, the De Zerbi ideas to the play. Is this the Juventus that we were going to see all season? Well, watching the first half of this game against Bologna, and that hope soon went away, I would say. I mean, we still saw the kind of Juventus that were trying to press high and press the opposition and win the ball back and try and be more attacking. They still had much more possession than we saw last season. This wasn't a Juventus that were just sitting back and defending their own box. But the unfortunate part of this is that we saw a Juventus that had no ideas, no patterns of play at all, no shots, not a single shot on goal in the first half. It was abysmal watching them. All the quality, there was just no quality at all. So that was, to sum up Juventus' first half, that was it. It was better in the second half for Juve, but it still wasn't good enough, was it, Nima?
No, the first half was horrible. And I just felt like Juventus looked almost a bit hungover. Like it just felt like there was no energy in the team. I don't know. For the feeling I got watching them was that there was no go. There was no all of the fire, the anger, all the stuff that we saw in the first game, in the first half of the first game, was just not there. They just didn't seem fired up for it. I don't want to take anything away from Bologna, because I thought Bologna were really good in the first half. I thought they had, Motta had his team prepared really well to counter Juventus and try to lock them as well, and they did do that to a certain extent. So I think we should give credit to Bologna as well. But for me, I thought Juventus just lacked energy. They didn't have that fire and energy, and they had the ideas, but they didn't look like they believed in them, if that makes sense. Almost, it was like they sort of, I think the reason why, because we've read now that Max Allegri went absolutely berserk in the dressing room, and I think the reason he did that is because he was this idea that the players thought, okay, we're back, we're Juve, just almost convinced of their own ability to be fantastic and not be able to, and not have to do the work, almost a little bit of not underestimating Bologna, but maybe overestimating how good they are, because things went so well in the first game. I think there was an element of all of those things, but Juve did look better in the second half. They did look more similar to the Udinese game than in the first half. But the first half was just...
Yeah, this first half was terrible.
Dreadful.
0 shots on goal in the first half. I checked it out. They had an XG of 0.13 in the first half. 0.13. That must be a record even for Allegri. Sort of a little bit lucky to only be one down as well. We'll come to Bologna as well, because like you, I don't want to take anything away from them. I think they're a really good team. But the second half was better. They had more of a go. They created a few chances. They had a disallowed goal, which was unlucky. It was the correct decision, but it was unlucky. But yeah, still not good enough. And I think the bottom line is this for Juventus. And I would even say this for the first game against Bologna, because if you check out the XG excluding penalties, excluding the penalty that they had in the first game, I think it was only around about 1 in the first game. So as well as Juventus played against Udinese, they still didn't really create that many clear chances. And I think, as you said last week, many of the chances they created actually were from mistakes. The second one was a mistake that gave away the penalty.
No, all three goals were mistakes.
To an extent, yeah. They were after taking advantage of Bologna mistakes. I thought the third goal was brilliant last week. But yeah, it cut. This is the bottom line with Juventus. However they play, whether they're playing in a more... because I don't totally agree with the idea it went back to Allegri 2021 to 2023.
No.
In the sense that this is a Juventus that are trying to press, and they are trying to play with a higher line. If you look at the average positions in the heat map on the pitch, this isn't Juventus playing with a deep block, which is what we've seen for the last 2 seasons, where they've been defending in their penalty area. This was just a Juventus that still, regardless of playing with a high line, just still don't really have those attacking patterns of play, the ability to create chances. And this is the bottom line with Juventus, and this is what needs to change if they're going to have a successful season. They had a 0.82 XG in this game. That's just nowhere near good enough to be a Scudetto challenger. You can't have an XG of 0.82. And this is the problem. This has been the problem this has been the biggest problem throughout Allegri's second spell at Juventus. They do not create enough chances. And if you don't create enough chances, you are not going to be successful. And this is what needs to change if Juventus are going to be successful this season.
I'd like to elaborate on that. I think it's not just creating chances, it's what kind of chances you create. Good chances, like, the way that when you see how Milan scored or how Napoli scored, they create like these almost impossible to miss chances.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like XGs of 08, 09. Almost,
and that is reflected in the XG,
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I feel is the problem here. But I do think that they're on the right path. I really think that. I think it would be very unfair, exactly like you said, to say, oh, this is the same old Allegri. I think that would be just very reductive, because it's just not true. I do think that we are seeing work in progress. I think the players, things went maybe a little bit too easy in the opening game. And sometimes, players can, mentally relax and think everything's all right and everything's gonna take care of itself. And it doesn't do that. Especially, teams in the Serie A are so tactically well prepared, and Bologna for sure. But before we get to them, I really want to praise Dusan Vlahovic. I thought he's these 2 games, he's doing everything that I wanted him to start showing. He's not doing it 100%, but he's showing that he's trying to do it, and he's fighting to do it, and he's actually succeeding with some and failing with some. I like that. I like his body language is positive. His attitude is just, he wants to show that he is good enough for Juve. He is good enough to be the number 9 at Juve, the focal point. And, well, 2 killers goals, really.
I agree and disagree. The positive from Vlahovic is, I think so far this season, he's been good in the box. His box play, like his movement in the box, his finishing, he's been ruthless. I mean, he's actually scored for 4 goals in his 2 games, but he's had 2 disallowed. The finish was fantastic. That was a lethal, clinical.
Yeah,
that was a top striker's finish. That was. Yeah, and he also, he did well on the goal that was disallowed as well. But the negative is his hold-up play and his touch outside the box. That's always been the problem. Not good enough. It's just not good enough. In the first half, it was abysmal. In the first half, every single ball that came to him, he moves like a World War I tank at some point. Like he moves when he's turning so slowly that the defender just comes in from behind him and takes the ball away from him. I mean, it's too slow. His protection of the ball is not good enough, and this is a problem in Juventus trying to build up the play as well and bringing others into play. So, I mean, and while that is the case, Vlahovic is going to continue to be a problem for Juventus in terms of their overall game. And so that is an issue.
See, I understand what you're saying, and I do agree it's not good enough, but at least he's trying to do it. Last year he didn't even try. This is the thing, but we're going in the right direction. And you have to remember, he's still a very young player.
I mean, me and you could try to do it as well. I mean, we probably wouldn't do it very well.
Yeah, but you and me are not 22, 23 years old, and we've never been anywhere near as good as the talent that Dusan Vlahovic has. And this is what I mean.
I was quite good as a teenager. Right?
I'm sure you were.
I wasn't big like Vlahovic, so I couldn't hold the ball up with an Orkney.
But my point is, I think Dusan Vlahovic, what I mean is that I think that, look, strikers of his caliber, his physique, they usually peak from 28 onwards, these big guys, in terms of learning. It's very rarely they turn into Erling Haaland this young in his career, these big physical guys. Lukaku didn't really know how to play with his back against the goal and hold up the play until Antonio Conte got his hands on him. And in the first training session, that entire pre-season, he tattooed Andrea Ranocchia on his back and said, "Hey Andrea, this is Romelu. Romelu, this is Andrea. Get to know each other because you're going to live together for the next 3 months."
That's fair enough, and it's true. But Juventus can't wait. They can't go. But they have to.
But this is I get that. But this is the season where he has to show improvement and actually start doing it better. Yes, the first half was abysmal, but I think that he will improve on that as the season goes. And my the thing that I'm negative about is that when it comes to Allegri is, why the actual flying F did you not do this during preseason? Because evidently whatever you did during preseason was not good enough, because Vlahovic still is not where he needs to be in terms of playing with his goal back against the goal, in terms of the hold-up play. You know that this is how you were going to use him, and he's not ready.
Yeah.
So you didn't do enough.
Sometimes it comes to, are they capable of improving that side of the game?
I think
both
think
manager and player. But Juventus were trying to sell Vlahovic, and up until a week or two ago.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean.
But Vlahovic is far from being the worst player. I don't think there was a single positive performance from Juventus players, but Vlahovic's few positives are probably that.
I loved Iling Junior's cross.
Chiesa was terrible. Chiesa was horrible. Yeah, horrible. Completely horrible. Couldn't find the spaces at all to get the ball. I think all the starters, none of them were impressive. We could go through all of them, but I do want to single out one player, and that is Paul Pogba's coming back from injury, which should have been good, but he looked like an ex-player. I mean, I'll give one prop to him. He did the pre-pass for the goal to Iling Junior. That's it. Other than that,
it was not nice.
It was quite sad to see, actually, how slow he was.
That's what I was going to say.
So
it was sad.
Slow.
It was sad.
Yeah.
He looked like a former player at an exhibition game. Like he moved like Diego Maradona.
I was going to say the same thing. It was like Maradona when he was like 50 and like...
Yeah, it was not nice to see at all. At like some sort of, charity exhibition match for, I don't know, raising funds for refugees in a UN game. Like it looked horrible. He looked absolutely horrible. And it's not nice to see. But then again, we shouldn't go too hard either because he's been away for so long. It takes time to get into match fitness. But
yeah, and he didn't have a rhythm either. So let's let him off for this one. But it did. Yeah, it didn't look good at all.
It didn't. It's not a good look. No, it really wasn't.
Yeah,
it really wasn't.
The other few things I want to say about Juventus is number one, 45 minutes throughout Juventus's second spell. Juventus have never played more than 45 minutes. Good football, even in the games where they've had their rare good games under Allegri during the second spell. I'm thinking against Inter in the Coppa Italia final in the first season, where they were really great for a good really period of that game, and then they just completely fell away. And even I'm just trying to think where else. Benfica, they had a really good 20 minutes against Benfica last season. There's been a few other examples I'm sure people can come up with where Juventus have been really good for maybe 45 minutes, not much longer than that. And then the rest of the game, they just can't maintain it. And this is what happened in the first game against Udinese. And, I was a bit critical and I was like, the second half they fell away. Okay, maybe they were managing the game. Maybe it was hot, but it does, whatever enough of the excuses. Juventus, they can't only play for 45 minutes.
Of course
they have, and that also works its way into your unconscious as well. If it's in you, that's why I was so critical last week. I was like, you have to drum it into your brain that we play for 90 minutes because, I mean, look what happens. The very next game, they were dreadful in the first 45 minutes. The second 45 minutes, they were better. But you can't play for only a half or only for a portion of the game. Top teams have to be good from start to finish.
No, you have to be switched on. You have to be switched on for 90 minutes. It's as simple as that. Teams are too...
I don't know if it's mental, physical, bit of both, but Juventus...
I think it's a combination of all of the above. I think it's this Juventus are in transition, not just on the pitch, but also off it. But if you're talking about on the pitch, I think that some of these players, this is the thing when you try to build around younger players who have less experience, playing at a big club and being switched on for 90 minutes week in, week out is a skill. It takes time to acquire that skill. And I think Juventus need to, and whether or not you can acquire that skill, no matter how good you are technically, that's the difference between a very good player and the players that make it at the big clubs.
Yeah, well, I don't blame the players. I blame the manager for that. There's no doubt.
Well, of course
there's no doubt about that because.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
I mean, I don't think you can blame the players. I do blame Allegri's starting 11. In the 2 years, Allegri's never had the same starting 11 ever. Now, obviously, Szczesny was enforced for this because he was injured. But I can't understand why he started Fagioli in this game. Why change a winning team? Why not start exactly...
Because Miretti was horrible against Udinese, I thought.
Well, he wasn't. I don't think he was horrible. I thought he was decent. I don't think he was outstanding. But Fagioli was horrible against Udinese. Absolutely horrific. And clearly
he was not fit.
And he was horrible in this game. Why not just play exactly the same? Tactically, Miretti carried out what Juventus were trying to do in that first game. He was pushing up as a centre forward. True. Why not just keep the same team? Why change it? Why change Miretti for Fagioli in this game? It makes no sense. Yeah. Allegri needs to stop this. He needs to. If they're going to get into a rhythm and create these patterns and create this identity, then you have to just play the same team. Juventus are only playing once a week. They don't need to change the team and rotate.
Yeah, Conte, if you remember when Conte plays once a week, he finds his team and he sticks to it.
Yeah.
And then it's just
Milik, another thing is Milik and Vlahovic should never, ever play together. Never. I've never liked Twin Towers. It's like at 1980s. It's like 1980s. It's like 1980s English football. You just play two big men up front together.
Zlatan Adriano.
I mean, I don't like it. It's rarely ever worked. It's horrible. So I don't.
Lukaku and Dzeko. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's Yeah, it's.
So that's the other thing. And then the other thing the last thing I wanted to say. Well, two last things. First of all, Locatelli is a 6. Again, doesn't convince me at all. Doesn't convince me. And Motta was very good at this in the first half. He was cutting out the passing lanes into the midfield and certainly to the wide men, to the wing backs. Cambiasso especially. Cambiasso couldn't get in the game. And I said again, that's another warning I had from first game. If you become too predictable and everything goes through one side of the pitch on the left or through one man, Cambiasso, you become predictable. Motta learned from that. He cut out the passing lanes. He let all the defenders just have the ball. Juventus's defenders, they're just not good enough. I mean, Danilo, I think, is okay, but Bremer and Alexandre, especially Bremer, they're so bad constructing the play from the back. They're so bad in possession. That is a problem in modern football. If your defenders can't use the ball, it doesn't matter how good you are defensively. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is one of the best one-on-one defenders probably in Europe, but he can't even kick a football. He
really can't. No, he really can't. It's truly remarkable that. Right.
So I think this is an issue, and I think Motta knew that. So he let the defenders have the ball. He cut out the passing lanes, and Juventus had no solutions. I mean, that's also up to the manager to find the ways around that.
I was going to say,
but
I blame Allegri.
Well, I blame Allegri, but I also acknowledge the point that Juventus' defenders are so bad constructing the play that is an issue.
And meanwhile, you've got Leonardo Bonucci there, who's only his most best feature is building from the back, is passing from the back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's strange to me. So I mean, if you got, I'm not saying they should.
Well, you
start
solve
Bonucci
one problem and you create another problem.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean.
So that's the issue.
That's exactly the point I was going to make. Yeah. It's like you've got one guy who's really good at that, but he's 100 million years old, and he can't do anything other than that. And the others, and he causes he causes the others to problems defensively because of the fact that he's so old and slow, and his timing is off. But Bremer is a problem with the ball at his feet for sure. I think Bremer regrets going to Juve. I think if he had gone to Inter, it would have been better for him and Inter, and Juve if they'd gone for someone else, because I don't see Juventus, and the reason I say that is I don't see Juve. Okay, Danilo's fine, but Alexandro, it's not working, and Juve Gatti is not the solution. I think long term. I think he can do something for them as a rotation player, but Juventus have problems in defence. They really do. Yeah. This is nowhere near the great Juve defences that we've seen. There's always different role players, and you have, throughout history from the 70s, 80s until now, regardless of what era, when Juventus were great, you had a complete defence. You had different players who could all do different things, and together they complemented each other and were unbeatable. This is not.
Yeah, I think Juventus needed to sign a centre back this one, but maybe Huijsen can come through, or maybe somebody can come through. But I think they needed to sign a centre back. We've spoken about Juventus. Let's just very quickly a bit of praise with Bologna, because Bologna are a very good team, and I think this also reflects well on Milan as well, how good their performance was, because I said after that game, Bologna weren't bad in that game against Milan. Milan were just very, very good. And I think Motta, he outcoached Allegri, certainly in the first half, but he has a big career ahead of him. You see the clear identity, they press high, they counter press, the clear ideas, the patterns, the identity. I thought they were very good. I have to put my hands up. Both of us were very, very critical of Xerxes after the Milan game.
Because he was awful against Milan.
Awful,
but he was
fantastic in this game. He was man of the match.
Yeah, he was
man of the match in this game. Yeah. He was holding up the ball. He was bringing people, doing everything that Vlahovic wasn't doing.
I was just about to say that. Everything that Vlahovic should have done, he did.
Bringing others into play. He got the assist. He set up Ferguson again for another chance. He forced a great save from Perin before that push from, It was a penalty, the Ealing Junior on Ndoye.
Yeah, we have to talk about the
It wasn't a scandal, as some people were saying, but it was a penalty. It was a light push. It was a very light push, but it stopped him from scoring. So it should have been a penalty.
Here's the thing: like the way I look at those contentious issues is the offside. Rabiot when Vlahovic scored it's the laws of the game say that if you impact play by standing in the vision of the goalkeeper when the shot is if you're in an offside position and you're judged to impact play if you're standing in the line of vision of the goalkeeper when the shot is made, and that's exactly what Rabiot does. So that's a correct decision.
Yeah.
So do I think it's a stupid rule and the offside? That's fine. That's a different debate.
Well, no, I think it's a correct rule because nothing drives me mad than players that are interfering. You know my rule. I would go.
I'm with you.
I would go full blown.
No, I'm just saying. No. What I'm saying is that like people's interpretations or feelings about the law is one thing. The laws of the game are what they are. That's a correct decision. There's nothing to debate. The penalty. That was not given the handball when I can't remember which Bologna defender it is, but he's sliding he's sliding and he's got his arm behind him to hold his balance, and the ball clearly hits his hand. That's not a penalty. That's just the laws of the game. I think again, do we feel that the handball rule is ridiculous or blah blah blah? That's a different debate. Yeah. The thing that I find the most contentious is the Dybala thing, because it's quite for the Ealing Junior on Ndoye, and the reason for that is the reason why it didn't go to VAR is that Dybala saw.
Who's Dybala? Just everyone knows.
The referee.
Yeah, former referee.
Yeah. No. So basically. No, he's not the former referee. He is a referee.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant Dybala, the former referee.
No.
Right. Okay.
No. So basically, what happens is. The referee saw what happened and he communicates what he saw to the VAR. In that situation, if what the referee is explaining to the VAR that what he saw is correct according to the images, VAR can't tell him to have a second look because that's his call. You can't overrule the referee. People think the VAR can overrule the referee. It can't. And that's the definition of a clear and obvious error. He made the call that if this were in the middle of the pitch, they were both going for the ball. No one was in control of it. It's a simple tussle. They got tied up into one another and fell over. And that's why it's not a penalty. And he felt that Ndoye, he gave him a yellow card for simulation even. So I personally think that's a scandalous decision. Because if you look at that situation, I understand he didn't have the foresight of VAR and blah, blah. You have to make that call as you see it. And I'll give him that benefit of that doubt. But to me, when I look at that is, I see one player ahead of the other player. The ball is free. He's about to take it, and then he's tripped. That's not a tussle for the ball. That's a penalty, and that's a mistake. But otherwise, I thought Dybala got everything right. I thought I thought the referee had a really, really good game. Yeah. I don't think it was anything scandalous other than that. It's just. This is how football is now, and VAR is what is part of the game, and they're not very good at. They're FIFA, UEFA, all these national FAs are not very good at explaining the laws of the game to the viewers, and so there's confusion and people get angry.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a penalty. I don't think it's scandalous because if you actually look at it, that there is very little touch, but you know, like you said, if you're ahead of the man and you impede the player. Without impeding him, I think he scores. But you know,
he scores.
So I mean, but anyway,
the but-for test, but for the impediment.
But we have to praise Bologna because I thought Ferguson very good. He scored. He's always a goal threat. I thought Posh. Remember, I praised him for his performance against Rafa Leao. He kept Chiesa and Cambiasso quiet. Obviously, it was a team game. And Ndoye, again, who I praise, I think he's going to have a good season. I think he's good. I think he gets at players. He attacks them. He beats his man. He's got a bit of pace. I like them. I said I like Bologna. I said I think they're going to finish in the top half. After watching this game, I'm confident they're going to finish in the top half this season. Unless they have a bad last week to the window, some players could leave. We'll see who they bring in as replacements. I think they're a good team, and I think the Motta factor will make the difference for them. And so, I like Bologna. Let's move on, though. Let's move on to Napoli, who I also liked. I thought they were totally dominant. This was after, I thought, a slightly, I wouldn't say disappointing performance against Frosinone, but it was, there were some questions. This was the real Napoli of last season back. I mean, they completely dominated. They created chance after chance after chance. conceded nothing. XG of 3.53 to 0.15. That tells you everything. I mean, this was a great Napoli performance.
It really was. And Victor Osimhen, I mean, we're running out of superlatives to describe this guy now. He's just the way he's such a nuisance, and he's such a complete striker. And the way his runs and his timing of his runs and his hold up play and his link up play and his aerial threat and now he's kind of becoming this kind of, you know, it feels like he's much more sharper in the box as well. This guy is, what a start to the season for him. And he is dragging Napoli just like last season. He is Napoli's most important player. He's dragging Napoli to wins. He wins games for them. But Napoli do have patterns of play, ding ding. They do have that. They do have that under Rudi Garcia, and we knew that they were going to have that. The issues were more of a defensive nature with Rudi Garcia, that sometimes are very hollow, his teams. But attacking wise, there's never been many questions.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I mean, and also Di Lorenzo, you know, or as you know, our good friend Patrick Kendrick calls him, Tuscan Cafu. Was amazing. Captain fantastic. I mean, I think I've said it last week as well. I said, look, he's becoming this kind of... he's becoming a captain and a senator at Napoli. And given that he's such a gentleman off the pitch, he's becoming almost like the kind of character that, you know, the gentleman senator captain at that Zanetti, Maldini and Del Piero were at those clubs. He's becoming Mr. Napoli. On and off the pitch, and he's leading defensively and offensively by example.
Yeah, he's been great going forward this season as well.
And it's just, you know, he leads by example, and this kind of quiet leader. And he was again fantastic. He
was. I thought the whole attack was excellent. Politano was electric, and Raspadori was good, but he's unlucky. Obviously with the hitting the woodwork. But I think
he's going to have a good season. I think this is going to be, I don't want to call it breakout season, but Raspadori, I think, is going to kill it this season.
Yeah, let's see. He needs to score more goals, but he's
true.
He's so comfortable on the ball and so good on the ball. But I think Anguissa made a big difference, replacing Cajuste as well. We saw that in the first game actually. When Anguissa came on, you saw a totally different Napoli. So Anguissa obviously makes a big difference, doesn't he? He brings that power to the Napoli midfield, and as well as the technical quality as well.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. I mean, I thought your comparisons last season to Vieira were spot on. This kind of spider in the web kind of character, and can do everything in midfield. And I think he is one of the best midfielders in the Serie A, and he will, you know, when he's not there, he's going to be missed. And I think Cajuste needs more time. But yeah, no, Anguissa was outstanding. Napoli look balanced when he's on the pitch.
Yeah,
in both phases, and that's an important kind of player to have in a team.
No, absolutely. And the one problem, though, that we saw from this game, the only negative from this game is again Napoli penalties. I mean, Osimhen took the first one, buried it. I don't know why he didn't take the second one.
Need to stop this.
Why did they change and rotate? Is an issue. Surely they need to stick with one person. But then Raspadori misses it, hits the bar and puts it over. I mean, Osimhen I don't think hasn't got amazing record on penalties either. So I don't know what Napoli need to sort this issue out, because it's going to cost them again.
The thing is, I understand why he wanted to give it to Raspadori, because they want to get him scoring, but you do that when you're 3-0 up. Do you know what I mean? Like when the game's already won. The game was not won, like in terms of number, like in terms of goals.
Wasn't it 1-0?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, and it's like, kill the game off, then do that stuff. And Osimhen needs to, like, he should be the designated penalty taker, full stop. You know, simple as that.
Yeah. And finally, on Napoli, it looks like Lozano is leaving and Jesper Lindstrom is coming in. So I don't know what to think of that. Lindstrom is quite adaptable player. He can play in a number of roles, so maybe that's why they're bringing him in, because he can play both sides, 7, 11. He can play as an attacking midfielder as well. So I mean, if they do kind of go to more of a 4-2-3-1, which they do sometimes switch it up at certain stages of the game. So maybe, he can be useful there as well, especially after not getting Vega. That looks like it's going to be the final signing for Napoli.
But we have to say Sassuolo are dreadful. I don't like them at all this season.
They're going to struggle, aren't they?
They are going to struggle, and they look so bad. They look devoid of identity more than anything else. And I wonder how many more games they will wait before they make a change on the bench.
That's it. See, when you're critical of, say, Italiano and De Zerbi, I understand the weaknesses in those two managers' games. But I feel that what they bring is so outstanding that it makes up for it. Whereas with Dionisi, he has the same kind of vision of the game, but I don't think he brings any.
The positives don't outweigh the negatives.
Exactly. That's what I feel with Dionisi. I mean, I understand it's Sassuolo. I understand, when these managers are managing this level clubs, it's not easy. You have to have your expectations have to be tempered. You can't expect them to. We're not expecting him to get into Europe with Sassuolo, but I'm expecting more, and I just don't see the defensive solidity we know has always been an issue, but I'm not even seeing enough from the attack as well.
No, I'm not. And this Berardi situation is ridiculous as well. They need to resolve that. And I find it really strange that a club as well run as Sassuolo and Carnevali, the CEO, that he's allowed this situation to get to this point. That they haven't handled it better, that you'd expect him to have a better relationship and understanding and communication with Berardi, so as not, given that he is Berardi at Sassuolo, the captain, the leader, so as
they
it
need
not
a striker as well. Pinamonti is just into a laugh all the way to the bank with that deal. They really do.
God bless. I think it was Dionisi. Wasn't Dionisi at Empoli that season when he scored his 12, 13, 14 goals or however? Or was it Andrea Azzoli? Whoever it was. That season when he scored those goals at Empoli and they sold him to Sassuolo for this amount of money, I think it was Andrea Azzoli. They should send him a gift basket from with goodies from Luciano Spalletti's wine farm or his farm because it's a fantastic farm, by the way. It produced amazing olive oil and wine. But they should send a gift basket to whoever it was, because Pinamonti, I do not rate him. Him and Sebastiano Esposito. No, I don't see it. I do not see it. And I am thrilled that we got that Inter managed to.
At least Esposito's got some skill and some X factor to him. Whereas Pinamonti is just like a beanpole. It's just that's all he is. I mean, he's
a beanpole.
He just stands there, no movement, no. He just, I just don't get it at all. Anyway, let's move on to Milan. Milan, fantastic performance from the big teams, performance of the weekend in Serie A, and they did have an unchanged team. See, they played fantastic in the first game against Bologna. They kept the same team, which is what I wanted from Juventus, and I think they've sent out a message to the rest of Serie A on this opening week of the season. 4-1 win against Torino, completely blew them away. Torino just couldn't live with them. Their attacking performance, but I mean, they were even good defensively as well, apart from the scrappy goal they conceded. But they created so many chances, 3.26 XG to 0.56. But the biggest takeaway, the whole attack was fantastic, but the front three really is already gelling. Rafael Leao, Giroud, and Pulisic, they look like they're going to score so many goals this season. They offer a bit of everything. It's a very attacking Milan. I think Pioli said after the game that they're always attacking with 5 players. And you see that, like I was looking at the average positions of the pitch, and Reinders and Loftus-Cheek playing very, very high up, both of them. And we already praised Reinders about how great he was, but I thought Loftus-Cheek was really, really good in this game.
He was good.
He was really good. Fantastic assist for the first goal for Pulisic.
Now I'm starting to understand why they signed him, because I'm starting to understand why they wanted Loftus-Cheek. Now I get it, because up until now I've not understood it at all. But now if this is the role that he's going to have at Milan, okay, fair enough. I see it. Then just keep him fit and he can do a job for you.
Yeah.
But Pulisic, I'm sorry, hate to say I told you so. I'm not surprised at all. He's going to be the first American player to succeed at a classic Italian or a classic European big
not
club.
Just Italian, yeah.
Yeah, European, yeah. He's going to be the first US men's national team player to succeed at a classic big European
to be a star
club.
at a really traditional
star
big,
at a traditional big club. Yeah, that's what I said before the season, and I thought it was all the signs were there, and I think he will do, because again, you're talking about a player who's 24 years old, has lots of experience. He's already been at Chelsea and Dortmund, and he's got big game experience. He's got, big club experience, and he also comes to a Milan who need that kind of a player, and his mentality is the right one, and he knows that this is like not his last chance, but this is an important chance that he can't mess up, and Milan are using him in the right way, and I thought he was fantastic again. I really, really like what he does. He's going to be, Serie A, every Serie A team needs to watch out. And the thing is, what Milan did when they sold Tonali and got all these players was exactly that. They created depth that they didn't have last season. Like we spoke about the Champions League semi-final, but also when Pioli started his second team against Bologna away in the Serie A last season, you saw that the depth just wasn't there. And if you don't have the money to invest, you need to create the depth. And that's what Milan have done. They are going to be a difficult side, very difficult side. I'm just very curious to see what happens when teams start finding them out and they start blocking them. Because like you said, like Pioli said after the game, attacking with 5 players leaves you exposed, can leave you exposed in the Serie A. I'm keen to see what he does, or what Pioli do, and how Milan react to when teams block them. Because at some point they will do that and find them out.
Yeah, but I think what's good about Milan is that they've got so many different attacking weapons. They aren't predictable, you know, so that you lock down one area of the pitch where they've got other areas and other ways that they can score. And that's why, like when I was saying about Juventus in the first game of the season, everything come from the left. It all came through Cambiasso, Chiesa. So Motta locked that down. And then, where were the ideas? The right-hand side of Juventus is not good enough. It's weak. And so with Milan, if you somehow, I want to talk about it in a second, if you somehow manage to succeed in shutting down Leao on the left-hand side, which I think very few people will be able to do, you've got Pulisic attacking from the right. You've got, Reinders and Loftus-Cheek through the middle. You've got Giroud that can still, has a different way. You can put crosses in for Giroud. I mean, I think the Milan attack is very complete now. I think they've got a bit of everything. They've got the pace. They've got they can put crosses in for Giroud. They've got. I mean, we saw the kind of passing patterns and the movement, and we saw them winning the ball high up, and we saw the transitions. We saw them on the counter attack. I mean, I think they've got different ways of scoring, and they've got players on the bench as well who we've barely seen anything of yet. They've got depth. So I think it's looking really, really good. It's been a really, really good start to the season for Milan. And Pulisic, fantastic. I mean, he scored. He nearly scored again in the second half. He had some really great bursts in play. That kind of acceleration that he has from 1 to 5 meters is really, really good. But, there's Giroud as well. I mean, he's got 3 goals this season. Okay, two of them are penalties, but he nearly scored with another goal. He looks really good. I also want to talk about the Leao-Theo connection. Because all the people, obviously, Milan fans very upset with losing Tonali. But if you think about it, Milan have still got 3 world-class players. Leao, if we can call him world-class now, he's close to world-class. Theo Hernandez, and then obviously Maignan in goal. But these two on the left-hand side, I mean, what a goal. What a goal that was. I mean,
It was
genius.
It was truly gorgeous.
It was truly genius.
Gorgeous.
I mean, the pass was fantastic from Leao, but the dink over the keeper, effortless, just elegantly dinking it over.
It's stunning. Absolutely stunning. No, they do have the best left-hand side in world football, I think. Those two together. They can do everything.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous. It was football. What we call in Swedish football candy. That's football candy. That's just delicious.
The Swedes all have the best sayings. They really do. Why do more people need to know about Swedish sayings. But yeah, sensational. Teo Hernandez has been sensational this season. We're also seeing this growing trend in football with fullbacks becoming inverted, and we're seeing that with Teo as well. In fact, we saw it a bit last season as well, but the way that he drives through the centre of the field, and he's like a train, like a speed train. Once he starts going through the platform, that's it. You can't stop him. He's not stopping.
No,
and
he's not stopping.
And he eats up the grass. And I thought, Leao and Teo were unplayable in this game, both of them. And Loftus-Cheek again, as we said. The Chelsea influence on this man too.
Yeah, I was going to say the C in AC Milan stands for Chelsea now, doesn't it? I mean, it's Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Pulisic, Giroud.
You say it, Chelsea. Association Chelsea.
Yeah, Associazione Chelsea Milan. No, there is a clear Chelsea link there, and Pulisic is I think he's. I mean, Giroud we already know. What he's done for Milan. He's been outstanding. But Ruben Loftus-Cheek is the one that I had the biggest doubts about. But Pulisic, I had no doubts. I think he's going to kill it at Milan, and I think he started really, really well.
Talking about penalties, just to be fair, I thought it was harsh.
I don't think that was. I don't think so. You know why? Because I think when your hand makes your body unnaturally bigger, which it does, it might be in a natural position. You can argue with that, but you can't say that it doesn't make his body unnaturally bigger. And that is why I think that was.
It was in front of him though. That isn't making.
Yeah, but it's
the thing is the rules say because we've actually seen some penalties not given where the ball's been blasted at a player. There was one ridiculous one. I think it was actually against Milan. I think it might be an Atletico Madrid game, or it was someone. They blasted it and someone parried it like a goalkeeper. They had their hands in front of their chest and parried it away, and everyone was going ballistic. Rightly so, because it's a ridiculous rule. Like, how can you parry the ball away with both hands in front of your chest? And it didn't get given because the rules state that you're not making your body bigger if your hands are in front of your chest. Well, you're allowed
to... No. Well, it was... I think it was Inter against Bayern Munich.
That's right, yeah.
Mane. But that wasn't his chest, it was his face. And you're allowed to protect your face when the ball is coming at high speed against you. And then they use the but-for rule. But for the hand in front of your face, it would have hit your face. It's not making your arm, even though it's above your shoulders, it doesn't make it unnaturally bigger because you're protecting your face. And if your hands hadn't been there, it would have smashed your face, and you're allowed, because that's a normal human reaction to do that. So they do make allowances for that. I think this was different. I think this was clumsy. He makes his hands have no business being there, and to me that's a stonewall penalty. I do have question marks for the second penalty though. That to me
remind me the second one.
The shores on Tomori.
Oh right,
that was
okay.
That to me.
Because he went through him though. He got man and ball. So I mean, if you get the man, if you go through the man, I mean, you're going to give. That's just again, it's the rules. You take the player.
That's exactly my issue. Is exactly that.
The rules.
The laws of the game are not clear, and the directives that they've given there in that situation are not clear.
It's a bit like the same with Van Dijk. I mean, Van Dijk, when he got sent off, he took the ball, but he went straight through the player as well. When he got
but you can't fly. That was a flying challenge, though.
But I mean,
that was.
He got man and ball, and he got He got all the ball, but he also took the man.
He got the grass, he got the ball, he got the man, he got everything except for the. I mean, that was rash as well. That challenge.
Yeah. I just think with this Buongiorno one, I think it was harsh because I think that when you play football, when you're marking a player in the box from that situation, you're naturally players. You're feeling the player. The player's backing into you as well. The forwards back. You've got him and you're feeling him out and you're touching his back. and the ball came on. Giroud flicks it on, and there's no way I think he can get out of the way. I mean, you can say, yeah, his hands are in front of him, but his hands are in front of him because he's feeding the player. You know, that's a natural. That's naturally what you do when you're marking.
Yeah, well, that's naturally what you do, but that's not the way that they interpret it in terms of making it your body unnaturally bigger. That is textbook unnaturally bigger.
Yeah,
and that's why
I think it's harsh. Personally,
I think it's the laws of the game. I think it's, you know, this is, again, they need to you know, they've tinkered with it so much that most people don't know what's going on. But I think if you're looking at, I mean, by the laws of the game, that's a penalty. The second one I have more doubts about, because if you look at it, Shores is not even looking at Tomori. Like, his eyes anywhere, and they clatter into each other. And so you can argue that, you know, that there was no intent there. But I don't know. It is unclear. The laws of the game sometimes
it's looking good. It's looking good for Milan anyway, and they got Roma next, so that's going to be a big game. Torino, though, just very, very, very quickly on their horrible start to the season for Torino. 1 point, they were horrible against Cagliari in the 0-0, created nothing, and we were saying how they had nothing in attack. I mean, they had nothing in attack in this game either. The goal they scored was a lucky goal. It was off a mishit shot. And then they just swung and scored. Schürrle scored. But the issue also with Torino is even the defensively looked awful. Schürrle, by the way, I mean, Inter better get Pavard done. They don't want to have Schürrle as their alternative.
No, they can't go after Schürrle because he's not even a right centre back. I don't understand these links. It's such a stupid thing.
Do you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me a little. I mean, I think he has more pace than De Ligt, but I think his lateral movement again is De Ligt-esque, isn't it? He's a big guy. He's heavy-footed. Leao,
very heavy.
Leao had and Theo, but Leao especially had a field day against him.
But that's the thing. You don't put man marking of these heavy guys against these light-footed, you know, Leao surfing past him. Like, it's just... Yeah, that was on Juric. I love Ivan Juric.
The third and fourth goals were his fault. He's not very good. So yeah, Torino need a striker definitely. Let's move on to Rome though. There is a crisis in Rome. Start off with Lazio, who lose 1-0 to Genoa. That's 2 defeats in 2 at the beginning of the season. And I mean, Lazio don't convince me at all. But
I think it's a structural issue. And I think the structural issue is because Sarri's a system manager, similar to Conte, although their systems are diametrically opposed. The problem is systemic. When one player doesn't work, it's like they're marching bands. Do you know what I mean? Sarri's football is a marching band, and so is Conte. He needs to have every single instrument fine-tuned. Otherwise, when one isn't working, it rings false. It doesn't sound good. I think the issue here is Ciro Immobile. He's not a Sarri number 9. And as much as they've tried to, put, plaster over it, he's not. And his lack of movement in that system makes everything else not tick. I'm not blaming Immobile per se. I'm just saying tactically he doesn't suit what Sarri wants to do. And I think that the sooner they bring someone else in and if he starts playing that kind of false 9 or similar to what he did with Mertens, Insigne, Callejon, where they are much more fluid, Lazio will start ticking again. Right now they're not ticking. It's tactically not working, and it's because Immobile doesn't offer that. Immobile is a number 9. He's a penalty area striker. He's one of the best in Europe in the last 10 years in that system. But I think they should have probably let him go to Saudi Arabia this summer. That would have been the smart move, and maybe even if you sell Immobile and keep Milinkovic-Savic, if that makes sense. That's what I would have done.
I don't think it's all about him. I don't think we can put it all down to Immobile. I think they're definitely...
No, I'm not saying it's Immobile personally. I'm saying just tactically it's not ticking. And the reason for that is because I don't think Immobile works in the system that he wants to play. And when you don't do that, when he doesn't make that movement, the others don't do the other movements, and everything just becomes out of sync. And it's
I just think that this Lazio team are just. I even think last season. I just don't think there's that much quality. I'm not blaming Sarri. I just don't think there's really that much quality. Lazio last season, again,
overperformed.
They massively overperformed, but they also overperformed because everyone else underperformed massively.
Yeah, is fair.
Inter, Milan, Juventus, Roma, Atalanta. Look at the number of games they lost last season. I mean, it was one of the worst seasons in Serie A history from 2 down to 7 in terms of points. So
that's a very fair
Lazio,
point.
I don't even think it was Lazio having a fantastically amazing season. Again, look at the number of games Lazio lost. So
that's a fair point.
I think they took advantage and they just managed to do better than the others. So I think that Lazio are a team that are they're not a great team. They're a good team. And this is they've had a bit of a slow start to the season. They'll pick up, I'm sure they will. But I think at the same time, I think if the other big teams perform as they should do, I don't see Lazio as a top 4 team. Absolutely not. And they're going to have the added issue of Europe, which is going to take a lot out of them. And is Lazio's team deep enough? Is their squad deep enough? I'm not sure. They're going to bring in Guendouzi now. I think he will help. I'm not a massive fan of him, but I think at this level, I think he will do all right. But yeah,
he's only 24. I mean, he's been around for such a long time that you think. I mean, I thought he was like 28, 29, but he's actually pretty young.
Yeah, he is. He started off young at Arsenal. Yeah,
he did. But I mean, I say this with a little bit tongue in cheek. To me, he's David Luiz from Wish.com. I just don't.
Just because he looks like he's got the same hair as him.
No, he's got the same clumsiness and same kind of lax attitude and movement, and I don't know. But if Sarri can unlock him, hats off to Sarri.
He's a runner, isn't he? He runs. He fits in,
and that's what Sarri needs. He wants that.
He's a bit of a headless chicken. He is a bit of a headless chicken.
That's what I mean about the David Luiz thing. Headless chicken, yes. But I mean, if Farmer Sarri can screw his head on right. Then to use that analogy
as for Genoa will be fine. Retegui scored. He's gonna. I mean, I think Genoa are going to have enough goals in them to stay up. They've got Retegui, they've got Gudmundsson, they've got Malinovsky now as well.
That's a good signing.
Yes. Yeah. So I think Genoa will be fine.
No, I like Genoa. Genoa will be fine. And I like Retegui as well. And I'm starting to think, are we talking about a little dark horse here to become capocannoniere, Matteo Retegui? Like, just putting that out there. I mean, I will on Friday the window closes, and next Monday I'll give you my final predictions on everything.
You've got Junior Messias as well. He's going to Genoa, isn't he?
And that's the level he's at. And I think that's a good signing for Genoa, and I think it's a fantastic move by Milan. Like, that's his level. He's a good player at that club. He shouldn't be in Milan. He should never have been bought by Milan. So don't take transfer advice from Serse Cosmi, because he was saying that, he's good enough to play for Milan, Juve and Inter and blah, blah, blah. No. Serse Cosmi is a pop culture reference from the 90s. Let's leave it at that, and let's not take transfer advice from Serse Cosmi.
No, or cap advice either.
Baseball. No, I like his caps. They're cool.
Bulldog. Right. Let's talk about the crisis in the other side of Rome. Roma, who their bad start to the season continues as well. They lose 2-1 to Verona, one of the favourites for relegation, after a 2-2 draw at home to Salernitana, which is another of the weakest teams in Serie A. Now, 2 points. First point I want to make is Rui Patricio. I've said it last season. I've been saying it for a year. He's not good enough anymore. He was statistically one of the worst goalkeepers in all of Serie A last season. Have a look at the numbers. Have a look at the XG, expected goals against versus actual goals against. He cost Roma so many times last season. And already this season, he started off where he left off. He conceded 3 goals from his first 4 shots on target this season for Roma. And he was awful for the first goal against Verona. He parried a simple long shot straight to Duda, and then Duda put Verona ahead. Now, for all the work that Roma have done this summer, obviously we know they don't have money. I think they had to replace Rui Patricio. He's just a liability now. He's just not good enough. And I'm looking at David De Gea there. I know he has a big salary, but I don't know if there's any way Mourinho can talk. They used to manage him. I don't know if there's any way they can get his salary down, but he is available on a free transfer now. And I know I'm not the biggest fan of De Gea now anymore either. But
But he's better than Rui Patricio.
Rui Patricio. We're talking about Roma. So go for De Gea. Go for him. Why not go for him? But Patricio, they've got to replace this guy. He's not good enough.
He's really not. He's really not. He's dreadful. Let's be perfectly honest. He's absolutely dreadful. And Roma, but I don't want to blame the entire this on just Rui Patricio as well. When your central midfield, when the answer to your problems is a double tandem Cristante and Paredes, you're asking the wrong questions. It's Argentinian Kuzmanovic and Italian Canadian Kuzmanovic, double tandem. It's unwatchable. They are awful. I don't understand what he's doing. Okay, Renato Sanchez is injured, but that, Awar is better. It's just don't play those two together.
Paredes got hauled off 45 minutes into his full debut for Roma.
Wonder why.
So are we going to see another Juventus like he was at Juventus and at PSG and at every big team?
But he's not. He's not good enough.
Yeah. Roma's defense. I mean, he didn't protect the defense, but Roma's defense has been very shaky so far, away from Patricio.
Yeah, it has. Chris Smalling is not in form. He's not. He's been bad. He's been bad. Let's be honest. I really like what Chris Smalling did last season, but he's not in form, and he looks a little bit off in terms of the timing more than anything.
Llorente
he was fantastic
as well.
last season.
I mean, a Leeds reject starting at centre back. I mean, again, this tells us everything, and Christensen as well. I mean, these kind of signings, I don't think they bring anything to Roma.
No, they don't, and but they really don't. But I don't understand. Pellegrini was really good. He's that guy with his free kicks. He's so unlucky, but damn, he's good at free kicks.
Roma have had bad luck this season, because even in this game, have a look at the XG in this game: 2.1 XG to 0.98 XG. That's not as emphatic as it was in the first week. The first week they had it was literally Candreva 2 wonder goals versus 2 point something XG for Roma. So Roma have been unlucky. They had chances. They hit the woodwork. The howler from the goalkeeper for the first goal. More injuries. Dybala, Zalewski both coming off. Zalewski after coming on as a sub. Sanchez injured before the game. All those suspensions before the game. Things are not going for Roma right now. They've been unlucky. But also at the same time, 1 point from 2 games after getting such a good fixture list to start the season is an issue. And that brings us on to Romelu Lukaku. Roma are close to signing Lukaku it seems like it's going to be a loan deal with no obligation and a loan fee, probably around about 5 million. Lukaku will lower his salary to make the move. He's confirmed himself the transfer will go through. Doesn't really mean much anymore what Lukaku says, but he said it. So unless he changes his mind after watching this game against Verona, he's going to be a Roma player. What does this mean to Roma? If you ignore the fact that it's only 2 games in, so this season's not over. Does this now give Roma a chance of top 4, or does it even give them a chance of Scudetto? What does this mean for Roma?
Scudetto for sure not, because they're not good enough in other areas of the pitch, as we've described already. So far in the midfield, defensively, goalkeeper, but it does boost their chances to finish in the top 4 for sure. And when Paulo Dybala is fit, Lukaku, and we'll see Lukaku, Dybala, Pellegrini. And Inter fans are going to be pulling their hairs, or in my case, whatever little they've got left, because Inter fans could have had that at Inter. And it's frustrating, because I think Dybala and Lukaku will be unbelievable together. And Lukaku, even though at this point in his career, he has what it takes to score 15, 20 goals in the Serie A, and he's going to be that reference point that Mourinho wants up front. They've worked together, they know each other, and Lukaku is pissed off. He wants to prove himself, and he's that kind of a character who likes to prove himself, and say basically against adversity and against all odds kind of guy. So this is a very good signing for Roma. This puts them in good contention for the top 4, and I think with Sardar Azmoun as a backup and Belotti there, now they actually have options up front. which they didn't have just a week ago. So I understand why he wants to, why Roma want him, and I think it's a good signing by Roma. But Romelu Lukaku has just no. I don't understand this guy.
Just before we get to Lukaku, let me just add on what he'll bring to Roma. I think that Dybala and Lukaku potentially is a really, really exciting combination if they can stay fit. That's the big if. Dybala went off with another muscle injury, it seems. I don't know how serious it is, if it was a precaution. He came off because of precaution. But again, he's injured. In fact, even Mourinho said before the game, the only reason we were able to sign Dybala and by extension someone like Lukaku is because other clubs don't want them anymore. Dybala because of the injury. He says we only be able to sign Dybala because no one else wanted to go for him because he's injured. Lukaku again, he's big clubs are not going for him anymore. So this is kind of where they are. If they can stay fit together, I'm sure they will score a lot of goals. Between them, at least 30 goals, maybe even 40 goals between them, if they can stay fit. The problem is they won't stay fit for a whole season. Certainly not Dybala. So I think that with a bit of luck, this is great for Roma. I saw somebody comparing them to the Omar Sivori, John Charles Juventus partner.
Yeah, back in the
the little guy, the little genius Sivori with the big monster John Charles. So it's I think it's good, and with Pellegrini or Aouar, who scored in this game. I think there's a lot of attacking, offensive quality there.
Talent.
Spinazzola, if he can get back to his best. There's a lot of quality there. Mourinho has to find a way of tying it all together, which he wasn't able to do with Pellegrini and Dybala last season. So now he's got more to try and tie it.
I think Lukaku could unlock both Dybala and Pellegrini because of the fact that he can hold up the ball and create that kind of extra second needed for players to adapt. And no, I really think this is a good signing for Roma, and this is good. But for Lukaku, he's not going to be challenging for the champion. He's not going to play in the Champions League. He's not challenging for the Scudetto. His career at that top is finished, and Inter was his only chance, and he screwed that up.
For the first time since leaving Everton, you could say, in terms of expectation, we can all sit here and say Man United never really had a chance of winning the Premier League. But in terms of expectation, this is the first time since leaving Everton in 2017 that he isn't going to be challenging for a big title.
I still think that Roma could win the Europa League.
If you call that a big title, I wouldn't call it a big title. League title or Champions League.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. But I think they can win something in Europe. I think they showed last season they have European pedigree and European routine, and I think that it does sum up how
his career's declined, doesn't it?
Exactly.
That he's now, here he is. He's now at a club that are not challenging for one of the major titles. So yeah, that shows us where we are. But an angry Lukaku, we'll see what he can do. Another big transfer that is going to happen. Beto is about to join Everton from Udinese for 31 million euros plus bonuses. For those of you who are listening, Everton fans who want to know about him, we did an interview with Beto last season. If you go onto our YouTube page, type in Beto in the search, you will find it on there. It's a really, really good interview. He's a great guy, and he has a great story of where he's come from to get to this stage. I think that. Good luck to him. That's what I want to say. He's got the quality. He's got Premier League qualities. He's got the pace. He's got the power. His touch is not the best, but he's a good guy, and I wish him all the best. I do worry for Udinese though now, losing him, losing Pereira, losing Becao, could lose Samatic, Delafeu injury. The attack is there needs to do some work. I think this
let's just say that Mr. Marino is no longer there and Mr. Balzaretti has his work cut out for him. That's all I'm going to say about that.
We love Udinese here. We've got a relationship with them. They give us players to come on the show, but I think they need to do some work in the last days of the window. It's going to be a tough season for them. Okay, just before we do Badger and Prem-Face of the week, let's just sum up the other games. Atalanta lose to Frosinone 2-1. Shock loss, but a very poor performance from Atalanta. Didn't create much. They defended badly, and I think it's just simple thing to say about this. This just sums up why Atalanta probably won't challenge the top 4 this season.
No, they won't. They're a mess defensively. They are an absolute shambles defensively. They've never been world class defensively, really. But this is now becoming a complete joke. They are so bad. Just go and watch some of the goals they've conceded. Oh, it's just.
And I'm not content. I'm not impressed enough with their fullbacks as well. Zappa Costa's getting older. Ruggeri on the other side, and the other alternatives for those roles. They need to get Scamacca fully fit and starting. And the injury to Lautaro really unlucky. A great win for Frosinone. Monterrisi had a dream game, scored and made a great goal-saving block. I thought Baranechea had a good debut on loan from Juventus, and it looks like they could maybe bring in Caio Jorge and Sule as well.
Sule.
So I'm not sure if that will be enough to keep Frosinone up, but yeah, gives them more of a chance.
But it certainly gives Hellas Verona. I mean, Hellas Verona could stay. I mean, 2 wins in a row.
Yeah, very surprising. Very surprising.
Baroni's doing an excellent job.
I think it's going to be a tough season for them. But yeah, well done to them. Great start. Fiorentina threw it away against Lecce. 2-0 up. They draw 2-2.
Again.
Again. I mean, they should have won. They had lots of chances, but not good enough from Fiorentina. Not good enough either against Rapid Vienna in the first leg. They're 1-0 down. They have to turn that around. Otherwise, I mean, it's been a disaster.
They're in the Conference League playoff. They were in the final last season, and they can't even make it to the tournament this year. It would be an absolute abject failure. And Italiano's Italianoing.
Yeah,
and I don't like it.
There'll be no excuses. But I'm not impressed by their market, I have to say, so far. They need to do some work. They lose Amrabat as well. I'm not happy with their market. I'll be honest with you. I'm not at the moment, but we'll see. Rest of the Serie A fixtures, well, the Monza beat Empoli 2-0. Colpani scored a double. Fantastic goal, his first goal. He's getting some interest from bigger clubs, so he's one to watch this season. And then we're recording this on...
Did you see Bastoni? I saw Bastoni commenting on his Instagram post, "Come to Inter."
Oh, really?
It was a bit... I don't know if he deleted that later. It was kind of funny, just noted that.
Yeah, Monday night games, recording this before then. Salernitana, Udinese and Cagliari. Inter, and also we've already commented on this a week ago, so we won't again, but Mancini is now taken over the Saudi Arabian national team. We knew that already.
Yeah, it's official now.
Yeah, it's official. So we knew that was already happening. He'll be there for the 2026 World Cup. Okay, let's finish off with Bad Joe and Prem Face of the week. Right. Bad Joe. Pulisic? I think Pulisic, hasn't it?
Yeah, we got to go with Christian Pulisic. And also Destiny Udogie. I think he's having a good time, and Guglielmo Vicario at Spurs.
Yeah, Udogie, another great performance. Got a great assist for Tottenham against Bournemouth. He's been playing fantastic. Surely
clean sheet for Vicario again, whilst Onana's doing howlers. It's
surely has to get called up for the Italy national team. Udogie after that. Yeah. Prem Face of the week. Go on then, Nima.
Look, this is getting ridiculous now. This is such. I mean, I don't have anything against De Zerbi, but this is a cult now. This is a cult. Jamie Redknapp, this is a direct quote. Roberto De Zerbi is potentially one of the greatest managers of all time. Okay, we have gone from when he was appointed in 8-9 months, is it? What is it, 8 months, 9 months? When was it? How long is it now?
10 months, yeah.
10 months, okay. So we've gone from 10 months to... this man is barely championship level to him being the greatest of all time. This is why does everything have to be so exaggerated? Why can't we just give him some time to develop his career and not say that he's either shit or champagne? Can everyone just take a breather? This is such a Prem-Face thing to do, to go from he's barely championship level to he's the greatest of all time in less than 10 months. Yeah. It's silly. It's silly.
The thing is a hallmark of the Prem-Face. The extremes.
It's such an extreme.
It's the hallmark of the Prem-Face media in building people up and then shooting them down. Or alternatively, the kind of redemption to the redemption story. It's such a hallmark of the Prem-faced media.
It's so exaggerated. It's so exaggerated and it's so unnecessary. There's no need for it. Like he is a good manager. He's one of the most talented young managers out there. He has movements and patterns of play that are really, really unique and interesting. Can we stop with just canonizing him and turning him into something he isn't, only to build, and then because they're building him up to be something he isn't today. He might be one day, but they're building him up to be something he isn't one day. And then if he fails, they'll just tear him down again. And that's what I think you were alluding to, this redemption story. It's overhyping things and then over-criticizing things. It's just, can everyone just calm down and leave him be and let him do his job at Brighton, where he's doing fantastically, and just calma.
Okay, well done, Nima. Yeah, okay, I will go with that. That's a good take from you. That's a very honest, fair, and balanced take.
But that's always what I've been saying about him. I think it's ridiculous. This canonization of him is ridiculous. He's only been there 10 months. He did a good job at Sassuolo. I don't even want to go into what happened at Shakhtar because a war broke out. Then now he's come to Brighton and he continued a really good job that Potter started, and because Brighton are a really, really well-run club. Can we just give the guy some time and let's see what happens and how he evolves and develops, and not turn him into the GOAT after 10 months at Brighton, nor say that he's...
I also have to say, and I'm a massive De Zerbi fan, I think it's going to be difficult for him this season, because I look at their team. Their team is not good. It is not a good team. It really isn't. It was last season. They lost their 3 best players, and he did an amazing job last season. He is the best.
And Scottish Allegri beat him on the weekend.
The best season,
but like this,
he did the best season in Brighton's history, a historic season for them. So what he did was amazing, and you can never take that away. But you look at Brighton's team this season. It's a bad team. Have a look at their starting 11. It's really, on paper, it's a team that should be fighting against relegation, in my opinion. It isn't good. It's a bad team. If he does really well this season, and he adds to it. But like you said, we need the balance. If he struggles, we also got to remember this is a bad team.
My only criticism, like you said earlier today, that you said his weaknesses, and that's my only criticism to him, is the weaknesses that you were aware of, but but in your opinion, the positives outweighs the negatives. I think in order to be a great manager, top manager, you have to know how to defend. Guardiola knows how to defend. He doesn't. This notion that Guardiola is only attack is nonsense. Yeah. His way of defending.
You've got to look at the teams they're managing, though, haven't they?
That's fair. That's all fair.
Pep has always managed the best teams in the world. Let's see how Pep does. How many goals he conceded if he was managing Sassuolo.
No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. My point is simply this: that I think that my main criticism to De Zerbi has always been there's no defensive stability, and I don't think it doesn't seem like he cares to address that. That's my criticism to him. But I think he's intelligent enough to adapt, and I hope he does, because it's a young Italian manager playing very modern and interesting football, and it would be very cool to see what he can do. It would be brilliant if he could have a great career. But he's neither the GOAT after 8 months at Brighton, and he's also not championship level, which some people were saying he was before he took over Brighton. So calma, please, breathe in, inhale, exhale, calm down.
Okay. Very level-headed Nima this morning.
No, this is what I've always said about De Zerbi. It's just the first time you actually listened to what I said.
He said he'd get Juventus relegated once, but apart from
he would.
Well, there you go.
He would.
There you go.
Because in the Serie A, if he's going to play like open floodgates like that in the Serie A, I mean, you saw how with this Juventus team.
That's ridiculous.
Come on, man.
Let's leave it anyway. Okay. We've gone on for too long. That's a ridiculous thing to say. But anyway.
No, it's not.
Right.
It's really not.
Let's leave it at that. We'll be back on Tuesday for the Q&A and Thursday. No, actually, maybe Friday this week to do it.
I was going to say we might do it on Friday because that's when the window closes.
To close the transfer window. But yeah, we'll have another show at the end of the week as well. Okay. Have a good week, everyone. Until next time. Ciao, ciao.